Hey everybody, it's Nathan Selove with another edition of Autism Actually Speaking. Before we get started today, there's just something channel related that I wanted to discuss. As the semester comes to a close, my grading workload has been increasing, and I've been struggling to get all of these videos edited on time. So that means that at least until the end of the semester, I need to go back to posting one video a week. Also with the podcast that I just started, which if you haven't listened to it yet, links in the description, I just don't have time to do this much during the rest of this semester. I should be able to kick it back up during the holiday break, but I'll keep you all posted. Anyways, on to today's topic. So the other day, I saw this comment on one of my YouTube videos that was asking me about what happens when people have conflicting disabilities. Namely, what if a person's disability or the accommodations they receive for that disability clash with another person's disability? I have a pretty good example of this. Back in middle school, when I was riding the special needs bus, because my school didn't understand the law and were forcing me to be separated from the other kids, there's this other kid that was on the bus. And he had a disability that made it so his primary form of expression was through loud screaming noises. High-pitched screaming noises. Loud, high-pitched noises are a trigger for my sensory issues. And he would do this for pretty much all of the bus ride, which meant that any day that I would ride the bus with him, I would spend pretty much the entire trip either trying not to melt down or failing in trying not to melt down. And to be clear, none of this is the fault of the kid. Screaming was his primary form of communication. It doesn't change the fact that my disability was impacted by it. And that's a very important part of this. It's very easy to look at a person's disability or disability accommodations that are affecting your disability and think, oh, well, this is my disability versus that person's disability. And their disability accommodation is part of a zero-sum game in which it takes away from my own accommodation. Now, I certainly can't provide you a solution for every single situation in which this happens, or else we would be here all day. But there are a few underlying principles that we do need to understand for this concept. First off, we should never consider ourselves oppressed by another person's disability. Second off, and I've said this 1,000 times, we should not treat disability accommodation like a zero-sum game. There are ways to find accommodations that suit all parties. Sometimes it might involve keeping the parties away from each other, and as long as it's done in good faith, in most cases that's probably a decent solution. Or in my case, I could have been offered some noise-canceling headphones or something. In my video about internalized ableism, I said that those of us with disabilities need to stick together. And I do believe that. In some cases, that might not be a literal or physical stick together, but we do need to have each other's backs. We shouldn't let clashing disabilities come in the way of the ultimate goal of trying to accommodate everybody. And if we do have clashing disabilities, try to be empathetic about it. Understand how an accommodation or a disability might be affecting the other person. And maybe together, you can try to find ways of getting past it. Or better yet, we can work together for more structural change, institutional change, to make sure that businesses and public accommodations are accessible to everybody and have the means to accommodate every disability. I know I wasn't able to get into that many examples in this video, but that's because there are too many examples. But I'd like to hear from you all. What is a time in which you recognize that there were clashing disabilities or clashing disability accommodations? What were the solutions? How were they solved? And look through the comments and see if that can help inform you for future interactions. Well, that's today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this episode, please give it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Check out some of my other stuff. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, support me on Patreon. In the meantime, if you have any questions or topics you'd like addressed, please leave them in the comments below, or message me on my Facebook, also linked below. And remember, if you sometimes have to look away from the camera because it feels like eye contact, and eye contact makes you feel uncomfortable, you might be autistic.